Thank you so much, Ian, for that lovely introduction. Thank you to Steve and Ben and the whole team for having me here today. I wanted to come as Labour's Deputy Leader primarily to say thank you. Thank you, first of all, for nominating me as Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, and thank you for the decision that you took yesterday to stick with Labour. I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. I know that when you backed me as Deputy Leader, when you nominated me to be Deputy Leader, it wasn't a straightforward decision. I think you were choosing between me and not nominating anyone at all. And I wanted to be here today to just repay that support back to you and tell you a little bit about how I've been working with the FBU and the trade unions across the Labour Party to make sure that your voice is really heard at the top of the party. I have been doing this role slightly differently to my fantastic predecessor, Angela Rayner. She was in government whilst also the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. I've chosen not to go into government, but to do this job entirely politically, which means that I can work directly with you, our movement, our members, and I'm in the political cabinet, but not the formal cabinet, helping to shape Labour's sort of political story, because I think, let's be honest, we need to get the politics sharper, don't we, and get the politics back into what we are doing, and I hope I've been doing that. And I've been working very closely with Chulo. In fact, Steve and I have got a Chulo meeting straight after this with the Prime Minister and others to talk about how we can make sure that working people are absolutely at the heart of what Labour does, and I've been heavily involved in the implementation of the Employment Rights Act and making sure that the priorities of your members are at the heart of what the Labour government does. Because our links with the trade union movement really are our superpower. Without you, we are nothing. With all of your members and all the members from all the other affiliated trade unions, that's 1 million more people who are affiliated to the Labour Party in every workplace, in every community right across the country. And no other party, no other campaigning force comes close. And we do share values, desires, and we share an agenda. So can I just really underline my thanks for the vote and the decision that you took yesterday to continue your affiliation to the Labour Party. It does mean a huge amount to me and to the Labour Party in general. And look, I know that it wouldn't have been a straightforward decision because we haven't got everything right. We don't always get everything right. We've made some mistakes as well. But I think it's worth just taking a moment to just think about the things that we have done together because of you, because of what you've done, because of the manifesto that you shaped for the Labour Party, and because you keep our feet to the fire in making sure that we deliver on those promises that we have made. Because without you, some of these things just would not have happened. We wouldn't have put rail and buses back into public ownership, something that has now happened because of you and because of the Labour Party working together. We wouldn't have given such big pay rises across some of the public sector workers. If we'd still had the Tories in power, we all know what would have happened there. And that has happened because we've got a Labour government. We're lifting children out of poverty. We've ended the exploitative 0 hours contract and ending fire and rehire and given everyone rights to sick pay from day one, a really transformatory policy. We're building more social housing than ever before, and just a few weeks ago we've ended no-fault evictions and make sure that rents now are going to be stabilised in the coming years ahead. We finally kicked out hereditary peers from the House of Lords, something that I know many supporters of the Labour Party feel is long overdue. And we've introduced Hillsborough Law, a really important piece of legislation which will be fully enacted, bringing a duty of candour to all our public servants. And these are just a few things that we've actually done together. But also, I think it's worth just remembering, and I know you heard from Sam Dixon yesterday, the Minister for Fire services. We've been working together with the FBU on the agenda that matters to you and your members. In Oxfordshire recently, because Steve and Ian had raised it directly with me, directly with the Prime Minister, we called out the cuts there that they were proposing to local services, and I'm pleased to see that has at least been paused for now. And we'll make sure that we continue that fight and work with you on those types of issues. And the work we've been doing together in the Department of Health, and I know you had Wes Streeting when he was still the Health Secretary, working with you on well-being issues at work as well. And Sam I read her speech and I heard it had a warm reception here yesterday about the partnership working that's absolutely critical to the future of the fire service, to make sure that we've got the proper investment in fire, that we've got that real work happening about how the service can evolve and develop and be invested in and expanded into the future. And I think that's absolutely critical, because of this link we've got the voice right at the heart of government. And I just want to say a little bit as well about my own constituency in Manchester Central. I've worked really closely with Andy Burnham, and I'm going to just say something about Andy in a minute. We had some real challenges over recent years with proposed cuts to fire services in Manchester, and we stopped those, and Andy has done, I think, a really good job in Greater Manchester at making sure that we invest in our fire stations and our fire services, because there is an evolving threat which you are all at the forefront of, whether that's building safety, whether that's terrorism, whether that's wildfires growing as a threat as well in my region. And I'm really proud of that work that I've done with Andy in Greater Manchester. And can I just say on Andy Burnham, because I know he's someone that you are keen on, rightly so in my view. Look, the election results that we had recently in the Labour Party were very difficult and painful. And the aftermath hasn't been all that edifying either. We could have further to fall as a party, and we absolutely need to come back together as one team, because we've got to take the fight to Farage. We are at real risk of Nigel Farage walking up Downing Street in a few years' time, and we can't let that happen. But we've got to do our politics differently. We've got to end the factionalism. We've got to embrace all the different traditions of the Labour Party, all the different voices, and bring one team back together. And that means having Andy Burnham as a key player in that team, in my view. He has now expressed since you've been meeting at this conference, his view, his desire to come back to Parliament. There's now a vacancy. I supported Andy last time he wanted to come back to Parliament, and I fully support him wanting to come back to Parliament again. And just to be clear, I'm got it on good authority, there's going to be absolutely no attempt to stop him from doing that again. So we will have him as the candidate, I'm sure. And I've just been asked, actually, in the last 24 hours, to be the political lead for that by-election. So that means the sort of politician involved. So I'm really going to ask you, especially those of you in Greater Manchester and nearby, this is going to be a tough by-election for us to win against reform. And if Andy is selected as the candidate in the coming days, let's see what happens there. We are going to need all of your help in that by-election. If you will come along and help us there, I think that would be really great. But look, I think I just want to say a couple of things about the way forward for us, and then I'll leave you to your debates thereafter. There's absolutely no sugarcoating, in my eyes, what's happened to Labour in the recent elections, and that's been coming for a few years. We might have lost more seats to reform, but we've actually lost a lot more voters to parties to our left, because we know that out-reforming reform is not a way for us to go in politics, and we can't do that. People have voted time and again for change. They voted for Brexit, they voted for Boris Johnson, they voted Labour in 2024, and it really is now incumbent on us for them to see that real change in their communities, in their jobs, in their lives from having a Labour government. Because all these crises that have come, from the 2008 crash to austerity, to COVID and everything else, they have not been weathered equally. You see that. You see that on the front line. You see that ordinary people, time and again, pay the price while a wealthy few get off scot-free. You know, we bailed out the banks in 2008, but ordinary people then paid the price with austerity, while bankers continued to get bonuses. When COVID hit, a few benefited from the VIP lanes, or fast lanes, or they defrauded the loan scheme, whilst everybody else saw their living standards fall. And in the energy shocks, we saw the energy companies taking these big excess profits while everybody else paid higher bills. This kind of economy is what people want to see changed, and that is absolutely what we have to put right. We have to re-engineer the country and the economy in the interests of the many and not the few. And we made some mistakes early in office as well, whether it was the winter fuel payment, whether it was the proposals on disability benefits. It didn't give people the right impression about whose side the Labour Party is on, and it left people confused. So we've got to turn this around, and we've got to come back and work together. Because it's not only about protecting people from these global shocks, but it's about giving people the simple things in life, isn't it? And that's what a Labour government should be about. For a decent, well-paid job, a secure, affordable home, an opportunity for their kids and their grandkids to do better than they currently are, and taking the pressure off people in the cost of living crisis. And we have to call those out who don't agree with that. We've got to show whose side we are on much more strongly, and show that we're on the side of justice and fairness. So we will be, and we need to, call out bad bosses who say that workers' rights will lead to fewer jobs. That is an argument we should be having. Or those who say that renters' rights or leasehold reform will crash the market. They're just wrong about that. Developers and freeholders refusing to remediate unsafe buildings. We've got to take that task on, and unafraid to do so. Or Tory and Reform councils cutting vital services like fire services as well. We have to show that we are unafraid and we wake up every day to tackle these big issues. Because the stakes are really, really high if we don't. If we don't get this right, if we don't prove the model that progressive mainstream politics really can bring about the change that people want to see, they are going to increasingly turn to Nigel Farage and others for the easy answers. And that is not something that I think any of us can let see happen. And let's not make any mistake, Nigel Farage is no friend of working people. I describe him as the love child of Margaret Thatcher and Enoch Powell, because that's exactly what he is. He is a Thatcherite on the economy. That's why he voted against workers' rights. He voted against renters' rights. He believes in trickle-down, failed economics that have not served this country well, and we need to call him out for what he is. So we have to stand together, and that's why I'm so delighted that we continue to stand together as the Labour Party, a Labour government working with the FBU to tackle these big issues that your members face and your communities face, because we have got to get this right. The challenge is that great. So thank you so much for having me here today, and I look forward to continue working with you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lucy. Steve's just going to say a few words.
Yeah, thanks, President. And thanks, Lucy, for being here. Busy week, I'm sure. But look, back in October of last year, you were the first politician to come to visit our new head office in King's Cross. And I had the opportunity, you had the unfortunate experience of being interviewed by me. And look, you made some commitments there about opening doors for us and certainly getting us in the room to have some discussions. And you've certainly delivered on that. We're still waiting on the 5,000 new firefighters that I asked you for, but hopefully we can deliver that over the next few years. But look, you also joined the Executive Council and took questions directly from EC members that represent all our regions. And look, they didn't hold back, but you didn't hold back. And I think the Executive Council certainly respected that. It certainly gave myself and Ben an hour's break from being questioned from the Executive. So look, I think you've been bold in your answers at the Executive Council about what you want to do, and look, we're at a point in time, we had that debate ourselves yesterday, and whilst we have many criticisms of decisions that have been made by the Labour Party, that we're staying affiliated. We think our voice is within the party, and hopefully we can achieve more than we have done. So look, happy to keep working with you, Lucy, and thank you for your time today. Thanks, President.
Thanks, Lucy. We have got you a small gift.
Brilliant. That's gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.